The air thickened with the scent of expensive perfume and the low hum of Chicago's elite. My 34th birthday, a meticulously planned tableau of my hard-won success, was unfurling within the gilded confines of Alinea. Elara Wells, clad in a cream Stella McCartney silk sheath, a silent testament to countless late nights and unyielding ambition, felt a rare flutter of peace. But peace, I was learning, was a fleeting guest in my family's drama. Then, across the polished table, my niece Kaylin, 17 and brimming with an unnerving mix of petulance and privilege, moved with deliberate, theatrical slowness. Her cranberry cocktail, a vibrant, innocent red, arced through the air. Time seemed to fracture. The crimson liquid spread across my cream silk like a widening wound, seeping into the delicate fibers, an undeniable stain. A gasp escaped the table. Kaylin's lips curled into a venomous smirk. "Now you look as cheap as you really are." My mother, Serafina, offered a soft, approving pat to Kaylin's hand. A lifetime of quiet endorsements, of subtle favoritism, echoed in that gesture. I smiled then, a tight, fixed mask. But inside, something finally, irrevocably shattered. For decades, I had been the unwavering foundation of my family, while my sister, Lyra, 3 years my elder, drifted between temporary jobs and borrowed time in our sleepy hometown. I carved a formidable path in Chicago's cutthroat marketing world. From entry-level coordinator to executive director at a Midwest powerhouse, my ascent was fueled by raw talent and a relentless work ethic. My apartment, a sentinel overlooking Lake Michigan, and my carefully curated wardrobe were not mere possessions. They were monuments to sacrifice, to a life built from grit. Lyra's journey was a stark contrast. Pregnant with Kaylin at 20, she abandoned college and navigated a chaotic carousel of fleeting relationships and minimum wage roles. I never judged her choices, but I silently became the family's invisible safety net. Elara, the landlord is threatening eviction, morphed into a monthly plea. My car broke down. Kaylin needs to get to her dance recital. Can you wire some money? The emergency credit card I'd extended to Lyra, meant for genuine crises, became her gateway to designer bags, impulsive getaways, and meals she could never genuinely afford. Without complaint, I settled the bills month after month. Family helps family, I'd always told myself. When Kaylin turned 16 and needed a car, I provided one, a reliable sedan, carefully registered in my name for insurance, a temporary loan until graduation. "You can use it," I'd said, watching her face darken at the nuance. She wanted to own it, to claim it as her right. Serafina, our mother, had been the silent architect of this dynamic. From childhood piano recitals, where my flawless performance garnered a dismissive, "nice job," while Lyra's mistake-riddled attempt earned a standing ovation for trying her best, the pattern was etched early. My college scholarships were dismissed as luck. My first corporate role prompted concerns about having time for a career. Even my executive promotions were met with a weary, I hope you're not working too hard, sweetheart." My financial achievements trivialized by "money isn't everything, Elara." All the while, Lyra was doing her best and possessed such a big heart, despite a ceaseless parade of financial calamities. My latest promotion to Executive Vice President of Client Relations came with a truly substantial salary increase. When I called Serafina with the news, her response was swift. "That's wonderful, darling. Did I tell you Lyra is thinking about taking some online classes? She's so brave." Later, Lyra called. "Must be nice," she'd said, her voice laced with bitterness. "Some of us have real responsibilities, not just fancy offices." I heard Kaylin in the background, making audible gagging noises. Despite it all, a deep, persistent love lingered. They were my family, and I clung to the desperate hope that one day they would truly see me, truly be proud. That belief had been my anchor through years of neglected birthdays, veiled insults, and relentless financial exploitation. As my birthday approached, I decided this year would be different. A grand celebration at Alinea, Chicago's most coveted reservation. A spectacular dress. my closest friends, my family, perhaps surrounded by the undeniable proof of the life I'd built, they would finally grasp my worth. In hindsight, I understand the profound desperation woven into that hope. I still craved their approval, believing success would finally unlock the reciprocal love I had always showered upon them. I failed to comprehend then that some people are predetermined to misunderstand you, especially when your triumphs cast a harsh light on their own shortcomings. The planning became a project tackled with my characteristic precision. Alinea demanded reservations 3 months in advance. I set an alert. Securing the private dining room for 8 on my exact birthday felt like a celestial sign. The dress came next, something that embodied my transformation. For weekends I searched, finally finding it, a cream Stella McCartney silk sheath, subtly adorned with crystal beading. At $3,000, it was an indulgence, but as I twirled before the mirror, I knew it was perfect. The saleswoman beamed. Special occasion? She asked. My birthday. Dinner at Alinea. How lovely. Your husband must be very proud. I shook my head. No husband. Just me, celebrating me. She nodded approvingly. Even better. Invitations went out weeks ahead. My friends, Isla, the pediatrician, Orion, my colleague, Finn and his husband Leo from my building, responded with immediate, enthusiastic acceptance. Inviting my family, however, was a familiar dance of subtle resistance. A Thursday night? Serafina sighed. Put out. That's a long drive into the city. I can send a car service, Mom. We'll see. I'll have to check with Lyra. Kaylin might have dance practice. I swallowed my disappointment. It's Alinea. The reservation was incredibly difficult. We'll try, she'd said, a hollow promise. Lyra's response was equally lukewarm. Alinea? Isn't that super expensive? It's my treat, I assured her. For everyone. Kaylin will need something to wear. She can't just show up in jeans. I closed my eyes. I can send money for an outfit. That would be the least you could do, Lyra retorted, as if my generosity was an imposition. And we might be a little late. Kaylin has dance until 6. The day of my birthday, I woke with a fragile optimism. A full day of pampering awaited. Massage, facial, hair, makeup. Sipping coffee, I allowed myself to hope. Tonight would be different. Surrounded by the tangible manifestations of my success, they would finally see me, truly see me. They would be proud. They would understand the unrelenting effort behind the luck they always attributed to me. By early evening, I was ready. The dress, a second skin of confidence. My hair, a cascade of soft waves. Makeup, enhancing, not concealing. I looked precisely as I had envisioned. Successful, self-assured, worthy of celebration. The restaurant staff greeted me by name, champagne chilling as requested. My friends arrived promptly, bearing thoughtful gifts and genuine smiles. Isla hugged me, whispering, "You look absolutely stunning." As the first course arrived, my family remained absent. Should we wait? Orion asked gently. I shook my head. No. Let's begin. They'll join us. They finally arrived as the second course was served. Serafina entered first, wearing the same tired dress she wore to every semi-formal event. Lyra followed, radiating irritation. Kaylin trailed behind, already immersed in her phone, clad in a crop top and mini skirt utterly inappropriate for the setting. Sorry we're late, Serafina said, devoid of genuine apology. Traffic was terrible. The staff, seamlessly professional, reset places, bringing their initial courses as we continued our meal. Conversation was stilted. My friends attempted to engage them, asking polite questions, but received minimal responses. So, Kaylin, Alara tells us you're quite the dancer, Finn offered kindly. Kaylin shrugged, eyes glued to her screen. I guess. She's extremely talented, Serafina interjected proudly. Her teacher says she could go professional. Lyra nodded. She just needs better training. The studio in our town is so basic. I recognized the opening. If Kaylin is serious, I could help look into summer intensives in Chicago. They have excellent programs. We can't all afford to live in luxury high-rises, Alara. Lyra snapped. Some of us have to make do. The table fell into an awkward silence. Leo caught my eye, a slight raise of his eyebrow. I shook my head.
Not now.
As the evening wore on, the chasm between my friends and my family widened. My friends asked thoughtful questions, shared stories that highlighted my accomplishments, fostering an atmosphere of genuine celebration. My family sat stiffly, contributing little but an occasional barbed remark. When it came time for toasts, Isla raised her glass first. To Alara, my rock for 15 years. Your kindness is matched only by your determination. I'm so proud to call you my friend. Others echoed similar sentiments. When it was my family's turn, Serafina simply said, "Happy birthday, sweetheart. 34 already. Time flies." Lyra lifted her glass reluctantly. To my little sister, always reaching for the stars while the rest of us stay on the ground. Kaylin didn't even bother, too absorbed in her phone. The gift opening was equally painful. Isla and Orion had collaborated on a beautiful leather portfolio, embossed with my initials. Finn and Leo presented a weekend spa package. Each gift was thoughtful, personal, accompanied by a heartfelt card. When I opened Lyra's gift, I forced my expression into neutrality. It was a scented candle from a discount store, still encased in a clearance bag, the $10 price tag glaringly visible. The card, clearly an impulse grab from a gas station, read simply, "Happy birthday, sis." "Thank you," I said, carefully placing it with the others. "This is lovely." "We can't all afford fancy presents," Lyra said defensively. "Some of us have real expenses." The dessert arrived, an elaborate confection of chocolate and edible flowers. "Happy birthday, Alara," etched in gold leaf. As the waiter described its components, I saw Kaylin's expression darken. She'd been sullen all evening, but now, a calculating glint entered her eyes. The dessert was a work of art, a sparkler drawing admiring glances from nearby tables. For a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to feel pride. This was my life, the one I had meticulously built. For 1 second, I reveled in it, unburdened. Then I noticed Kaylin whispering to Lyra, who smirked and whispered back. Serafina leaned in, joining their private conference, all three glancing at me with expressions that made my stomach clenched. "Everything okay?" I asked, my voice lighter than I felt. "Just fine," Serafina replied. "Kaylin was just saying how fancy everything is." I turned to Kaylin, extending an olive branch. "I'm glad you could come. I know weeknight events are difficult with your schedule." Kaylin finally looked at me directly.
Yeah, whatever.
"Must be nice to waste money like this when there are people starving." "Kaylin," Lyra said, a performative tone utterly lacking reprimand. "Be nice. It's your aunt's birthday." My friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. Finn cleared his throat. "So, Alara was telling us you might be looking at colleges soon, Kaylin. Any thoughts on what you might want to study?" Kaylin rolled her eyes. "Not everyone gets to go to college. Some of us have to work for a living." "Actually," I interjected carefully, "I've been putting aside some money for your education. There are excellent dance programs that offer scholarships, too." The table fell silent. This was news to everyone, including Lyra, whose face registered sudden confusion. "What do you mean, putting aside money?" "A college fund." I explained. "I started it when Kaylin was born. It's not huge, but it should cover community college at a minimum, possibly more with scholarships." Serafina frowned. "You never mentioned this." "I wanted it to be a surprise when the time was right. Now that Kaylin is thinking about her future, it seemed a good moment." Instead of gratitude, I watched as 3 faces hardened simultaneously. Serafina's lips pursed. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Kaylin, angrier than ever, gripped her water glass until her knuckles blanched white. "So, you've just been sitting on a pile of money all this time while we struggled?" Lyra's voice had the dangerous edge I remembered from childhood quarrels. "While I worked double shifts, while Mom had to rearrange her house to help me with rent. That's not what I said. I began, feeling the evening slip through my grasp. I specifically set it aside for Kaylin's education. It's in a trust. Always the savior, Lyra sneered. Always making the rest of us look bad. My friends were openly uncomfortable. Isla placed a supportive hand on my arm, but said nothing. What could she say? This was family dirty laundry, airing in the worst possible setting. Let's just enjoy dessert, I suggested, a desperate attempt to salvage the celebration. We can discuss the college fund another time. No, let's discuss it now. Kaylin suddenly spoke up, her voice rising. I don't need your charity. I don't need anything from you. Kaylin, honey. Serafina tried to intervene. Your aunt is just trying to help. She's trying to control everything, like she always does. Kaylin shot back, walking around like she's better than everyone because she has money, acting like we should be grateful that she throws us her scraps. The restaurant seemed to fall silent around us, though I knew it was just my focus narrowing to this agonizing moment. The beautiful evening, months in the making, was disintegrating before my eyes. That's not true, I said quietly. I love you. I want to help because you are my niece, and I care about your future. Kaylin stood abruptly, grabbing her nearly full glass of cranberry cocktail, a non-alcoholic version the restaurant had prepared especially for her. You want to know what I think of your help? She said, her voice climbing higher. You want to know what I think of your fancy dress and your fancy restaurant and your fancy life? Before anyone could react, she tossed the contents of her glass directly at me. The cold liquid struck my chest and face, immediately soaking into the cream silk of my $3,000 dress. Red rivulets ran down the fabric, staining it irreparably. In the shocked silence that followed, Kaylin delivered the final blow. Now you look as cheap as you really are. My friends gasped. Finn half rose from his chair, but I raised a hand to stop him. The restaurant was undeniably quiet now, every table aware of the drama unfolding in our corner. I expected my mother to scold Kaylin, to apologize profusely, to do something to acknowledge the cruelty. Instead, she patted Kaylin's hand. I think we should go, she said, standing. Alara, this was all a bit much. You know how teenagers can be when they feel uncomfortable. Lyra was already grabbing her purse. We told you this place was too fancy. You should have done something simple if you wanted us to come. I sat frozen, red liquid dripping from my ruined dress onto the pristine white tablecloth. Eyes were on me from every direction. The staff hovered uncertainly. It's fine, I heard myself say, my voice steady despite everything. Thank you for coming. As they walked out, leaving me humiliated before my friends and a restaurant full of strangers, I maintained my composure. I dabbed at my dress with a napkin. Knowing it was futile, I smiled at my concerned friends. Well, I said, I guess the party's ending early. Isla immediately moved to the chair beside me, her arm around my shoulders. Alara, I'm so sorry. That was unacceptable. Orion was already speaking to the waiter, arranging for the bill and our remaining desserts. Finn and Leo flanked me protectively as we made our way out, my ruined dress drawing sympathetic glances. In the sanctuary of my apartment, surrounded only by my true friends, I finally allowed myself to weep. The dress was destroyed. The evening was ruined. But more importantly, the fantasy I had clung to for years, that my family might someday see and appreciate me, had been shattered beyond repair. As my friends offered comfort and outrage on my behalf, something hardened inside me. Years of financial support, emotional labor, and desperate attempts to win love had culminated in this public humiliation. Something had to change. After my friends left, I sat alone in my living room, still in the stained dress. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my banking app, years of transactions flashing by. Tens of thousands of dollars flowing from my accounts to support my sister and niece. Credit card statements revealed shopping sprees at high-end stores, spa days, meals at restaurants far beyond Lyra's means. Then I opened my social media, and my blood ran cold. Kaylin had already posted about the incident. A blurry photo of me in the stained dress, captioned, "When rich Annie needs to be taken down a peg, hashtag Soranatsuri, hashtag cheapasp, asterisk CK." The post had dozens of likes, including one for my sister, Lyra. In that searing moment, something broke free within me. The desperate need for approval, the yearning for family love, the willingness to be used again and again. All of it fell away. In its place, a clarity I had never experienced before. I picked up my phone and made 2 calls. The first was to my credit card company. The second was to my lawyer. Alone, I peeled off the ruined dress. $3,000 of silk and beading, destroyed in seconds by deliberate cruelty. I hung it in my bathroom, a crimson-stained reminder of this turning point. The shower water ran hot as I scrubbed cranberry juice from my skin and hair. My mind raced through years of similar moments. Lyra accidentally spilling wine on my graduation dress, Kaylin forgetting to tell me about family gatherings, Serafina dismissing every achievement with faint praise, immediately pivoting to Lyra's latest crisis. Why had I accepted this for so long? The question echoed as I wrapped myself in a robe, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed with texts from friends. "Are you okay? Want me to come back?" That was inexcusable. "We're here for you. Just say the word, and I'll help you cut those toxic people out." I appreciated their concern, but I needed solitude to process what had happened and what had to come next. For the first time, I was seeing my family dynamic with perfect clarity. I had been the family ATM, the emotional support animal, the punching bag for their insecurities. Opening my laptop, I pulled up my financial records. The evidence was damning. In the past 5 years alone, I had given Lyra over $78,000 and emergency assistance. The credit card showed monthly charges at clothing stores, hair salons, restaurants, and hotels, not necessities, but luxuries. The car I had purchased for Kaylin years ago, a $32,000 sedan, had its insurance, maintenance, and even gas stipends paid by me. It was registered in my name, but Kaylin treated it as her personal property, posting photos of herself posed against it. My ride and perks of being me. Speaking of social media, I forced myself to look at Kaylin's latest posts. Beyond the stained dress photo, she'd uploaded several secretly recorded videos from the restaurant. One zoomed in on my face as I opened Lyra's cheap gift, captioned, "Auntie pretending to like the dollar store candle while sitting in her $1,000 dress, hashtag fake, hashtag rich PO problems." Her friends' comments were worse. "Did she cry when you ruined her dress? Bet she has 10 more just like it. Rich people need to be taken down sometimes." Lyra had liked and commented on several posts with laughing emojis. My phone rang, startling me. It was Isla again, concerned by my silence. I answered, my voice steadier than I expected. "I'm okay," I told her. "Actually, I'm better than okay. I think I finally see things clearly." "What are you going to do?" she asked. "What I should have done years ago. Stop enabling them." After we hung up, I made a list of every way I had financially supported my sister and niece. The credit card was the most immediate issue. As the primary cardholder, I had every right to remove Lyra as an authorized user. The car was legally mine, registration and insurance in my name. The monthly transfers to Lyra's account could be stopped with a few clicks. For hours, I researched my options. I called my credit card company, explaining the situation. They were surprisingly understanding, immediately canceling Lyra's card and issuing me a new one. I arranged for the automatic transfers to cease. I contacted a towing company about retrieving my car from Kaylin's possession. Each action brought both guilt and relief. The guilt was old programming, the voice in my head that insisted family obligations were sacred, regardless of how I was treated. The relief was new, a lightness that came with setting boundaries that should have been established long ago. Around 2 a.m, my phone exploded with notifications. Lyra had tried to use the credit card for a late-night fast food run, only to find it declined. Her texts escalated from confusion to anger. "Card not working. Need you to call the bank. Hello, I'm stranded at drive-thru. What the hell? Alara? Answer your damn phone. Are you seriously doing this on your birthday? Real mature. I silenced my phone and went to bed. For the first time in years, I slept deeply, without anxiety about my family's next crisis. Morning brought more messages, including several from Serafina, accusing me of being petty and vindictive. Your sister needs that card for emergencies. Whatever happened at dinner is no reason to punish her financially. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called the towing company and arranged for them to pick up my car from the high school parking lot, where Kaylin would leave it during dance practice. I provided the registration, proof of insurance, explaining that I was the legal owner reclaiming my property. We'll have it at your building by noon, ma'am, the dispatcher assured me. I called my office and took a personal day. This confrontation would demand my full attention. Then, I contacted my financial advisor to review my complete financial picture, free from the drain of supporting my sister's family. The difference was stark. Without those expenses, my retirement timeline could accelerate by nearly 5 years. Just before 8 that morning, my phone rang. It was Kaylin, her voice high and panicked. My car is gone. Someone stole my car from the school parking lot. I took a deep breath. It's not your car, Kaylin. It's mine. I bought it. I pay the insurance, and my name is on the registration. I've arranged to have it returned to me. The silence lasted 3 seconds before the explosion. You can't do that. How am I supposed to get to school? To dance? This is illegal. It's perfectly legal. As I said, it's my car. Is this because of last night? Are you seriously this petty? It was just a joke. Humiliating me in public, destroying my dress, and posting mocking videos online is not a joke. Those are deliberate acts of cruelty. And yes, this is a consequence of your behavior, but it's also long overdue. The car was always mine, temporarily loaned to you. I am simply reclaiming my property. She began to cry, the manipulative sobs I had heard countless times when she didn't get her way. Please, Anna Lara, I need the car. I'll die if I can't get to dance. I'll delete the posts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, I said, surprised to find I meant it. But my decision is final. I hung up as she was still pleading. Within minutes, Lyra was calling. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to her rage-filled message accusing me of destroying her daughter's life over a little spilled drink. Serafina called next, her voice tearful as she begged me to reconsider, to not punish Kaylin for one mistake. One mistake. As if last night existed in isolation from years of similar behavior. As if I had not endured a lifetime of being treated as both cash machine and emotional punching bag. I texted them all the same message. I am available to talk in person at my apartment at 3 this afternoon. We have much to discuss about our future relationship. Then I began gathering evidence. Bank statements, credit card bills, car payments, insurance documents, screenshots of social media posts. Everything laid out in clear, undeniable detail. By the time they arrived, I would be fully prepared to show them exactly what they were losing through their behavior. The towing company called. We've secured the vehicle, ma'am. There was a young lady who attempted to prevent us, but we explained the situation and showed her the documentation you provided. The car will be delivered to your address within the hour. I thanked them, adding an extra tip for handling what must have been a difficult scene. Then, I ordered lunch, ate calmly, and prepared myself for the confrontation. For the first time in my adult life, I was not afraid of my family's disapproval. Their power over me had been broken by one cranberry-soaked evening of clarity. The morning after my birthday, disaster unfolded with methodical precision. I woke early after a surprisingly restful sleep, made coffee, and reviewed my action plan. The clarity I felt was almost euphoric, like breaking the surface after years underwater. My first call was to the credit card company. Good morning. This is Lara Wells. I need to remove an authorized user from my account immediately. The representative was professional but curious. May I ask the reason for the removal? The authorized user has misused the card for non-emergency personal expenses against our agreement. I understand, Miss Wells. I can take care of that right away. You should know that any pending charges will still be processed, but no new charges can be made after we deactivate the card. That's fine, and I'd like a new card issued to me with a different number. Of course. We'll rush that to you. Is there anything else? No, thank you. That takes care of everything. The call took less than 10 minutes. After years of paying Lyra's excessive charges without complaint, it felt surreal how easily I could end the financial drain. One phone call, and a major avenue of exploitation was closed. My second call was to my friend Thomas, a lawyer specializing in property law. Ilara, I heard about last night from East Law. Are you okay? I'm getting there, I replied. I need some quick legal advice about a car. I explained the situation. Car purchased in my name, used exclusively by Kaylin, me paying all associated costs. You're on solid legal ground, he assured me. The vehicle is registered to you. You pay the insurance, and there's no documented gift transfer. You can reclaim it at any time. Even if I previously told her she could use it through high school, verbal agreements like that are hard to enforce, especially with a minor. And use is not the same as own. You have every right to take back your property. Relief washed over me.
Thank you, Thomas.
I'll be careful to document everything. My third call was to a reputable towing company. I explained I needed my vehicle retrieved from the high school parking lot. I'll need to provide proof of ownership, I said, already preparing to email copies of the registration and insurance. Yes, ma'am. We'll need that documentation before we proceed. I sent the files immediately, then scheduled the pickup for early morning, knowing Kaylin would be in dance practice. Please be discreet, I requested. There may be some confusion about the ownership. We understand. Our drivers are trained to handle delicate situations. Next, I called my financial advisor, Janet. We had a standing quarterly meeting, but this couldn't wait. Janet, I need to review my financial commitments. I'm making some significant changes to my family support arrangements. Janet had long, tactfully questioned my level of financial support to Lyra. I have time this afternoon if you'd like to come in, she offered. Perfect. I'll see you then. The final preparation was emotional. I sat with my journal and wrote out exactly what I wanted to say to my family. No accusations, no recriminations, just facts. The total amount spent, the ungrateful responses, the public humiliation, the clear path forward. By mid-morning, the first crisis call came through. Lyra, her voice shrill with panic. Ilara, my card was declined at the gas station. There must be some mistake. I took a deep breath. There is no mistake, Lyra. I have removed you as an authorized user from my credit account. A stunned silence. Then, you did what? I closed your access to my credit card permanently because of last night. Are you serious right now? It was just a stupid dinner. It was my birthday celebration, and your daughter deliberately humiliated me, destroyed a $3,000 dress, and then posted mocking videos online. You liked and commented on those posts. But this isn't just about last night. This is about years of financial dependence that has created an unhealthy dynamic between us. So you're just cutting me off? Just like that? How am I supposed to pay for anything? The same way other adults do. With your own money, from your own job. Her tone shifted from outrage to pleading. Ilara, please. I have bills due next week. Kaylin needs new dance shoes. Mom needs her prescription filled. The familiar guilt tugged at me, but I held firm. I'm sorry you're in this position, but it is not my responsibility to manage your finances anymore. You selfish, she hissed, reverting to anger when manipulation failed. After everything I've done for you, what exactly have you done for me, Lyra? Please enlighten me. When she had no answer, I continued. I am available to talk in person at my apartment at 3 this afternoon. We should discuss this face-to-face. I hung up as she was still sputtering threats and insults. The next call came right on schedule. Kaylin, her voice trembling with panic and fury. My car is gone. Someone stole it from the school lots. It's not your car, Kaylin. I corrected calmly. It's my car. I bought it. I pay for the insurance, and the registration is in my name. I've arranged to have it returned to me. Her shock was audible. You can't do that. I need that car. You needed transportation, which I provided. You have now lost that privilege because of the dress. Are you serious? It was just a joke. Deliberately humiliating someone is not a joke. Posting videos mocking me online is not a joke. Those are cruel actions with real consequences. Her voice cracked as she shifted tactics. Please, Analera, I'm sorry. I'll delete the posts. I need the car for school and dance. Please don't do this. I have made my decision. We can discuss this further when you come with your mother to my apartment at 3 today. Serafina called next, her voice a particular mixture of disappointment and manipulation she had perfected over decades. Alara, what is this I hear about you taking Kaylin's car and canceling your sister's credit card over a little spilled drink? That is a rather significant understatement of what happened, Mom. And yes, I have reclaimed my car and closed the credit account I was allowing Lyra to use. This family helps each other, she said, as if reciting scripture. We don't punish each other over small incidents. I agree that families should help each other, but help should be reciprocal and appreciated, not demanded and mocked. Kaylin is just a child. She made a mistake. She is 17, Mom. Old enough to understand cruelty. Old enough to face consequences. She sighed heavily. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sure they will apologize if that's what it takes. What it takes for what? To get the money flowing again? That is exactly the problem. Any apology given under those circumstances would be meaningless. So you're just cutting them off? Your own family? I am setting boundaries that should have been set long ago. We can discuss this further when you all come to my apartment at 3. My meeting with Janet, my financial advisor, was revelatory. She created a spreadsheet showing my financial support of my family over the past 5 years. The total comes to just over $160,000, she said, turning the screen toward me. Not including the car. Seeing the number in black and white was shocking. And if I had invested that money instead, she ran the calculation. At a moderate growth rate, you would have an additional $122,000 in your portfolio today. And moving forward, if I stop all financial support, you could move your retirement timeline up by at least 4 years, or purchase that vacation property you've been considering, or both. The possibilities expanded before me. Freedom from financial obligation meant freedom to live my own life fully. By the time I returned to my apartment, the towing company had delivered my car to the building's garage. The attendant handed me the keys with a sympathetic smile. Young lady at the school was pretty upset, he commented. Kept saying it was her car. Family misunderstanding, I said simply. Thank you for handling it professionally. I spent the next hour preparing my apartment for the confrontation. I set out the financial documents on the dining table. I printed screenshots of Kaylin's social media posts. I made coffee and set out water, but no snacks or other comforts. This was not a social visit. Precisely at 2:55 p.m., my building security called. Miss Wells, there are 3 people here to see you. Elira, Kaylin, and Serafina Wells. Please send them up, I replied, straightening my shoulders. The knock came moments later. 3 sharp raps that somehow conveyed fury. I opened the door to find exactly what I expected. Lyra, red-faced with anger. Kaylin, puffy-eyed from crying but still defiant. And Serafina, wearing her perfected martyred expression. Come in, I said calmly. We have a lot to discuss. They entered my apartment like invaders. Lyra stormed in first with barely contained rage. Kaylin sulked behind her. Serafina brought up the rear with an expression of sorrowful disappointment that had cowed me since childhood. Sit down, I said, gesturing to the dining table where the documents lay arranged. I'm not sitting anywhere until you explain yourself. Lyra snapped. How dare you strand my daughter at school? How dare you cancel my credit card without warning? I remained calm. The car is registered in my name. I pay the insurance. It is legally mine. You gave it to Kaylin. I allowed her to use it. There is a significant difference. Serafina stepped forward, adopting her peacemaker role. Elera, honey, I understand you're upset about what happened at your birthday dinner, but this response is extremely disproportionate. Is it? I asked, pulling out a chair for myself and sitting down. Please, all of you sit. I want to show you something. Reluctantly, They took seats around the table. Kaylin immediately slumped in her chair, arms crossed defensively. "These are my bank records for the past 5 years," I began, sliding a folder toward them. "They show every transfer made to Lyra's account. The total is $47,632. Lyra's eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. "These are the credit card statements for the account I allowed you to use for emergencies," I continued, pushing another folder forward. "The total charges come to $3,418. Items purchased include designer clothing, restaurant meals, concert tickets, and spa treatments. Not what most people would consider emergencies." Serafina cleared her throat uncomfortably. "Family helps family, Alara. You've been blessed with financial success." "I have worked extremely hard for my financial success," I corrected her. 60 to 70-hour weeks for years. Sacrificed relationships and personal time. Earned every promotion through excellence. I turned to the next document. This is the purchase agreement for the car Kaylin has been using. $32,000, plus insurance and maintenance costs of approximately $4,000 annually, all paid by me. Kaylin had the grace to look slightly ashamed, though she still wouldn't meet my eyes. "The total financial support I have provided over the past 5 years comes to $160,000, I concluded. "Money freely given out of love and concern for your well-being." The room was silent as they absorbed this information. Lyra looked stunned, as if seeing the total amount for the first time made her realize the extent of her dependence. "And this," I said, placing my tablet on the table, "is how my generosity has been repaid." I opened the screen to Kaylin's social media page, displaying the posts from the previous night. The photo of me with the stained dress, the videos secretly recorded during dinner, the mocking captions, the cruel comments. "Kaylin, would you care to explain why you thought it appropriate to humiliate me publicly, then share that humiliation with hundreds of people online?" She squirmed in her seat. "It was just a joke. Everyone posts stuff like that." "A joke is something everyone laughs at. Did you see me laughing when you threw your drink on me? Did you think I would find it amusing to have a $3,000 dress ruined? You can afford another one," she muttered. "That is not the point. The point is respect. Basic human decency. Neither of which you demonstrated last night." I turned to Lyra. "And you? You liked these posts. You commented with laughing emojis. You encouraged this behavior." "I didn't think it was that serious," she defended weakly. "And you," I said, finally addressing Serafina. "When Kaylin threw her drink on me, you took her side. You comforted her, as if she was the victim." Serafina looked genuinely confused. She was upset. She was upset because she had just deliberately humiliated me in public. And your first instinct was to comfort her, not to address her appalling behavior. I stood and walked to the window, gathering my thoughts before turning back to face them. "For years, I have supported you financially and emotionally. I have never asked for anything in return except basic appreciation and respect. Last night made it crystal clear that I cannot even expect that much from you." Lyra seemed to finally grasp the severity of the situation. "So, you're just cutting us off completely?" "I am establishing boundaries that should have been in place long ago. The credit card is canceled. The financial support is over. The car is mine again. How am I supposed to get to dance?" Kaylin burst out. "How am I supposed to get to school? The same way thousands of other teenagers do. Walk, take the bus, ask your friends for rides. This is not fair. Neither is being mocked and humiliated by someone I have generously supported for years." Serafina tried a different approach. "Alara, I understand you feel hurt, but this feels like punishment, and families shouldn't punish each other. This is not punishment. These are natural consequences. When you mistreat someone who has been supporting you, that support may end." The reality of their situation was beginning to sink in. Lyra looked pale. "The rent is due next week. I can't make it without your help. I'm sure you will figure something out. Perhaps a second job or a roommate. And Kaylin's dance classes? Her college fund. The college fund still exists. It's in a trust that she can access when she enrolls in higher education. Kaylin's eyes widened. As for dance classes, that is something you will need to budget for yourself. So, you're not taking away the college money? That was always for your education, and it will remain for that purpose. But everything else, all the extra support, is over. A heavy silence fell. My family exchanged glances, seemingly at a loss for how to proceed. The dynamic had shifted so dramatically that their usual tactics, the guilt and manipulation, the anger and tears, were not working. "I can't believe you would do this to your own family," Serafina finally said, falling back on emotional manipulation. "After everything we've been through together." "What exactly have we been through together, Mom? When have any of you supported me through a difficult time? When have you celebrated my successes without jealousy or resentment? When have you shown me 1/10 of the consideration I have shown you?" She had no answer. Lyra, always quicker to adapt, changed tactics. "Okay, we messed up. We're sorry. What do we need to do to fix this?" "This is not something you can fix with a hasty apology. This is about fundamentally broken patterns in our relationship. Patterns that have persisted for decades and will take significant time and effort to repair, if they can be repaired at all." "So, that's it? You're just done with us?" Kaylin's voice cracked, genuine fear breaking through her teenage bravado. I softened slightly. "I am not done with you. I am done enabling destructive behavior. I am done being an ATM. I am done accepting disrespect and cruelty as my due." I walked back to the table and gathered the documents into a neat stack. "I would like each of you to take some time to reflect on our relationship, on what you have contributed versus what you have taken, on how you have treated me, and whether that treatment reflects the love you claim to feel." For the first time, I saw uncertainty in Serafina's eyes. Perhaps even the beginning of genuine remorse. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now you go home and figure out how to live within your actual means. You create a budget that does not include my financial support. You consider whether having me in your lives is important enough to treat me with basic respect and decency." I walked to the door and opened it, a clear signal that the conversation was over. "I love you all," I said, surprising myself with the truth of it, despite everything. "But I will no longer accept being loved conditionally or treated disrespectfully." They filed out silently, the gravity of the situation finally sinking in. As Serafina passed last in line, she paused. "I never meant to hurt you," she said softly. "I know," I replied. "But you did, repeatedly, and now we all have to live with the consequences of that." The door closed behind them, and I was alone in the quiet of my apartment. For the first time in my adult life, I felt truly free. The weight of obligation, of unrequited familial love, had lifted. Whatever came next, I would face it on my own terms. Months passed, each day a small step toward a new normal. My life transformed in ways both subtle and profound. The initial period after our confrontation was the hardest. My phone buzzed constantly with messages alternating between anger, pleading, and guilt-tripping. I responded factually and calmly to direct questions, but refused to engage with emotional manipulation. Eventually, the barrage slowed, then stopped entirely for weeks. The silence was both painful and peaceful. Then came a text from Kaylin that changed everything. "I got a job at the mall. Saving for a car, not asking for money. Just wanted you to know." That simple message, free from demands or accusations, was the first tender shoot of something new growing from the scorched earth of our relationship. I replied simply, "I am proud of you. That is not easy." Lyra's transformation took longer. According to Serafina, she cycled through rage, depression, and finally, reluctant acceptance. Months after our confrontation, she found a better-paying job as an office manager and moved to a smaller apartment she could actually afford. When she finally reached out, her message was unexpected. "Thank you for forcing me to stand on my own. I hate that it took this, but I needed the push." Serafina was the most complex case. Decades of enabling Lyra and dismissing me could not be undone quickly. We began with brief, carefully neutral phone calls once a week. She struggled to break old patterns, occasionally slipping into comments about how Lyra and Kaylin were suffering without my support. But I gently redirected these conversations every time. I'm glad to hear about Lyra's new job, I would say. That must be a relief for everyone. Slowly, Serafina began to see me clearly, perhaps for the first time. She asked questions about my work, my friends, my life, with genuine interest rather than cursory politeness. During one call, she surprised me with an observation. You sound different, Alara. Happier. I am, I replied. Setting boundaries has been good for me. I can see that now, she said thoughtfully. I wish I had been better at seeing you before. It was not quite an apology, but it was a start. Over time, we progressed to monthly family dinners, not at expensive restaurants, but at Serafina's house. Simple meals where we were relearning how to be together without the distortions of financial dependence. Kaylin, now working part-time and focused on college applications, had matured remarkably. During one dinner, she asked if she could speak with me privately. We walked in Serafina's garden as evening fell. I need to apologize properly, she said, looking me in the eye. What I did at your birthday was cruel and stupid. I was jealous of your life, your success. It seemed so easy for you, and so hard for Mom and me. It was never easy, I told her. I worked incredibly hard for everything I have. The difference was that I took responsibility for my choices. She nodded. I understand that now. Working for minimum wage has been educational. I laughed at her dry tone. I bet it has. The thing is, she continued, I actually like earning my own money. It feels good to buy something and know it's really mine, not a handout. That is how independence works, I agreed. It is harder, but more satisfying. About college, she said hesitantly. Is that trust fund really still there? It is. Education was always the plan for that money, and it still is. Her relief was palpable. Thank you. I'm applying to state schools with dance programs. More practical than my old plans. That sounds like a wise decision. As we walked back toward the house, she asked, Are we okay, you and me? We are getting there, I answered honestly. Trust takes time to rebuild. Lyra's transformation was perhaps the most profound. Without the safety net of my financial support, she had found resources within herself she never knew existed. She was taking night classes in accounting, building skills for long-term career growth. During a rare sister lunch, just the two of us, she confessed. I resented you for so long. Your perfect life, your freedom. I told myself you had it easy because you didn't have a child, because you left home, because you were lucky. And now, I asked, now I see that you made choices and I made choices. Different choices led to different outcomes. That is not your fault. It was the closest we had ever come to a genuine connection as adults. Serafina took the longest to truly change, but small shifts were happening. She began treating me and Lyra with more equality, acknowledging my accomplishments without immediately pivoting to Lyra's struggles. During a private moment after dinner one night, she took my hand. I failed you as a mother, she said simply. I favored your sister because she seemed to need me more. I took your strength for granted. I am sorry, Alara. Truly sorry. Tears sprang to my eyes at the words I had needed to hear for decades. Thank you, Mom. My own life flourished in unexpected ways. Without the constant drain of supporting my family, I had energy and resources for new pursuits. I took a photography class I had always been interested in. I dated more, no longer constantly available for family emergencies. I even took a 2-week vacation to Italy, something I had dreamed of for years. When my next birthday approached, I considered letting it pass quietly. The memory of the previous year's disaster was still fresh, but Isla convinced me otherwise. You cannot let one bad experience rob you of celebrations forever, she argued. Just do it differently this time. So, I planned a small gathering at my mother's house. No expensive restaurant, no designer dress, just family and close friends, a home-cooked meal, and genuine conversation. As we sat around the table, I looked at the faces of my family. Still imperfect, still learning, but trying now in ways they never had before. Kaylin had made me a handmade card that showed real effort and thought. Lyra had bought me a simple but thoughtful gift within her actual budget. Serafina had prepared all my favorite foods from childhood. When it came time for toasts, Serafina stood first, surprising everyone. To my daughter Alara, she said, her voice steady, who had the courage to show us all a better way to be family, who loved us enough to stop enabling our worst behaviors. I am proud of the woman you have become and grateful for the chance to truly know you now. Glasses clinked as emotions ran high around the table. The journey had been painful, but the destination was worth it. We were building something new from the ashes of unhealthy patterns, something based on mutual respect rather than dependence and resentment. Later that evening, as guests began to leave, Kaylin approached me with an envelope. "I saved this from my job," she said, handing it to me. "It's not much, but I wanted to repay you at least symbolically for the car and everything else." Inside was $200 in carefully counted bills. "Kaylin, you don't need to do this," I began. "I want to," she insisted. "It's important to me to show you I understand now." I accepted the envelope with the gravity it deserved, recognizing it not for its monetary value, but for what it represented: accountability, growth, respect. As I drove home that night, I reflected on the lesson of the past year. Sometimes the greatest act of love is saying no. Sometimes the hardest boundaries are the ones most necessary for growth. And sometimes family has to break before it can be properly rebuilt. The relationship with my family was still healing, still evolving. There would be missteps and old patterns to overcome. But for the first time, I felt hopeful that we were moving towards something healthier, something based on mutual respect rather than obligation and resentment. The journey had been painful, but necessary. By standing firm in my worth, I had given my family the opportunity to rise to their best selves rather than continuing to sink into entitled dependence. And I had given myself permission to be valued, respected, and truly loved. Setting healthy boundaries, as this narrative illustrates, is not about punishing others, but about protecting one's emotional and financial well-being, paving the way for authentic relationships and personal growth. The initial discomfort or conflict that arises from establishing these limits can ultimately lead to a more respectful and sustainable family dynamic. The journey from being an ATM or emotional punching bag to someone who is valued for their intrinsic worth rather than their utility is a powerful act of self-love and courage.